It's no visual tefillah. Visual tefillah awaits its return in the fall. Okay? Awaits its return from the fall.
For making announcements? I guess Ellen?
Actually, I'm doing it. Yeah, we're trying to minimize the number of people coming and going. Now, my sense is Molly is supposed to be leading worship with you tonight. Is that not the case?
She said she sent me a text message saying that she was probably to walk in right at 6:30, so sorry.
Okay, so my understanding is I'm preaching, and you two are supposed to be.
I'm happy to start without her.
We can give it 5 minutes.
I am, capable.
I know you're capable. Trust me.
What made you color your hair?
It did get cut during COVID, and then my daughter offered to cut it for me, and so we had to cut it short enough because we were donating the hair.
Oh, that's great.
So we ended up cutting it pretty short.
It looks great.
I like it actually. I do.
Yeah, it's only 6:25. We're early.
So 5 minutes is a ton early. You're so early.
I was saying, I didn't know what the drill would be, so I wanted to be like on time and not. I'm gonna text Mary and Susan. They both said they were coming.
I think people were afraid of the rain.
You have the sheets printed out because I didn't print them out.
I have printed out
Okay.
almost everything that can be printed out because I am, as you know,
Yes, you are you.
me, slightly obsessive compulsive.
No, because I for some reason I thought you and I were co-reading tonight. So I thought that you would.
Next week, we're co-leading.
Oh, it's next week.
Next week on Pride Shabbat, we're co-leading and Molly is preaching.
Okay.
So, okay, sermon. Okay, I just need to hole punch this.
It's in the job effect that she's on her way. Maybe we should look at that.
There's a reason the Jewish people took 40 years to get through the desert.
What's that?
That would be helpful.
I don't want to go for 20 days and 14 would be.
Yeah.
Sure.
I will try.
Thank you.
Absolutely, I will try.
I want to take it and then I read that
They're not letting individuals in on the group?
No, only groups.
Really?
And USA is in the same position as Brazil and Argentina. I
That's
couldn't believe it.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's no.
Well, as soon as there's a new government, it may change.
Yeah, there's no logic. I mean,
Okay.
the Canadian border is
Right.
still closed.
Let's-
My parents are in Canada, and the Canadian border is still closed.
Let's see what happens.
And even if you're vaccinated,
Okay,
you have
let's
to,
get
you have to
started.
show a COVID test. Even
No,
when vaccinated.
that is okay.
So
I will do
weird.
the COVID test, I will do the other test. I just don't want to
Yeah, that's
be
strange. The group
for
thing is
14
strange.
days.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's, yeah.
I'll send you an email. George.
Please.
I thought about you and I said, maybe Serge can attach me to a group.
Well, I have people I can ask. I mean, that's the thing. I can ask the shlichim. We have an outgoing shliach, an incoming shliach.
If I go as a civilian of some sort, imagine.
Okay.
At the school.
No, I didn't. Come on. I couldn't believe it, that I couldn't do it.
I mean, did you hear from the Liptons, by the way?
They're not coming.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna be with their family tonight,
All right.
which is fine. I told them that was fine.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So whenever you guys are ready, go for it.
Miriam has stepped out momentarily.
Oh, well, then we can't go for it.
Nope. Hello.
How's the rest of the mishpacha?
Very good. With you around here, everything's good.
Kind of hard.
Yes.
And what are they doing for the summer?
2 Jewish summer camps.
Which camps?
Olin saying Ruby.
I love Olinsang. That's the Carnation Family Estate House. I used to get snowed in there in the winters.
Yes, that's where Alice is going. And Allie is going to Camp Interlochen, which is in the Milwaukee JCC camp that she always goes. Wonderful. Susan and Susan very
We've both heard a lot about it.
All the kids are at Jewish.
You guys see that semester? Very exciting.
That's absolutely right. But you guys have to really
I couldn't go.
Good. How are you? So, dear friends, I'm going to do the thing. So, as much as I love you, I need that if you're not domiciled in the same house together, to be separated by 6 feet. I have to remind you of that. I'm very sorry. I know I'm bad, but we have rules, and at least for the time being, I want to not be yelled at. Oh, you want to get up and dance the jitterbug? I'd like to dance the jitterbug, but it's not going to happen.
Careful what you wish for.
And I'll remind you, if you have one of these devices, what I do lately, which I actually prefer to all other things because you never know when the Amber Alert, God forbid, or something, or the thunderstorm, I never know what's going to come through even when I'm silent. So if you're not going to actually take the battery out and shut it off, I put it in airplane mode. And in airplane mode, nothing comes through and it doesn't ring and do stuff. So unless you have an alarm already preset to give you an excuse to leave. Off is good. But sometimes I turn my phone off and it starts doing stuff. Was Mikhail able to help you today with your phone issues? See, that's wonderful. Excellent.
Okay.
אפשר לתת מתנה לקפיטל קמפיין בכבודו. Right? Okay. Ladies, whenever you're ready. King David says in the Psalms, "All my body shall praise the eternal God." And in truth, worship and prayer involves more than the offerings of our lips, more than words and ideas. There is a component to our worship that is actually physical, and it allows us to engage and re-engage with our bodies. That's why so often when we begin worship on a Friday night, I invite you to take that deep breath in and then release. I know that fogs up if you're like me, but that's okay. Deep breath in and release. We are so busy with our business, so busy that we have lost our sense of the workings of our own body, of our heartbeat, of its rhythm, of the sense of our breath filling our lungs, of all of those elements that make us a whole being, not just a mind, but the gestalt of mind, body, spirit, human being. And so one of the things that's really hard when we come here is to take that moment and really try to transition. Try to reimagine what it is to be instead of to do. 6 days a week are devoted to doing. 1 day a week is devoted to being. And I must admit, whereas in antiquity, there was very little time for being, because so much doing was necessary to survive, we've entered a period where we now very happily define ourselves by our doing and are a little bit intimidated, I might say even a little afraid of just being. Because then we might rediscover aspects of who we are as human beings, that our worth, our innate value does not come from what we do. We find meaning in what we do. We find purpose in what we do. And yes, there is value in what we do. But there is innate value simply in being. And if we can recognize that in ourselves, Genesis teaches us, Kol habriot, all of creation, every human being, has divine worth, not because of what they do, but simply by being created in that divine image. So here we are on our second Friday Eve Shabbat in the sanctuary as we are tiptoeing. Those of us here are minyan here in the sanctuary, and all of the people on the live stream. I want to reassure the people on the live stream that we are researching how to interconnect the live stream with the Zoom interaction. I only learned this week that the Facebook party doesn't have faces. That makes no sense to me. Facebook watch party has no faces. It's a lost opportunity. So we're busy. We're trying to figure out, because we know how much people really appreciate the Zoom, and we'll be back to Zoom. We have one more Friday night. Next Friday night, Pride Shabbat, we'll be here in the sanctuary. Rabbi Kane and I will be leading. Rabbi Kane will be preaching in honor of Pride Shabbat. And then the construction workers will be taking over the building, and we will move to Zoom, except for the last Friday in June, Rabbi Kane and her wife are going to be leading services in Brooklyn Bridge Park on that last Friday of June. I'll be there in the congregation. We're putting in our prayers for good weather, sales, not management. And for the rest of the summer, we'll be mostly on Zoom. Once each month, we'll have an opportunity for a prayer service in the park. So there's a lot going on. And even though the sun is still up, we can bring Shabbat a little early. So I'm going to actually, Rabbi Kane, have you caught your breath? I'm going to invite Rabbi Kane to kindle Sabbath lights.
This is my second time we just had sweet Shabbat, which was.
I bet it was very sweet with us.
You could feel the sugar coming out of the Zoom rooms.
This was the first day in over a year that I got to see preschoolers, and I did, "Hi, everyone," and they all went, "Hi, Rabbi." Oh. By the way, you can follow if you're on the live stream. There is a PDF that corresponds to our prayer books. Page 2 is where you'll find the candle blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And even though Turley Lipton isn't here in the sanctuary with us tonight, she will be called to Torah tomorrow as a bat mitzvah. We still have 4 b'nai mitzvah left in June, and she's with family who've traveled in. So she just lit candles, I'm sure, at home, and will be chanting Ve'ahavta along with a cantor and us and making Kiddush. And if you'd like to see her doing that, you can tune into the live stream tomorrow for the Shabbat morning service for her bat mitzvah. So Turley is celebrating that event in the congregation tomorrow morning. Let me invite you to turn to page 9, and we'll read together. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature, as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand and wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Page 17, we're going to join in the singing of Romemu from the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho.
We continue on page 19.
Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. V'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo
We continue with our poem for Kabbalat Shabbat, Lecha Dodi, page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מכרם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Verse 5.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כי בוא אדוני יחלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
And we rise and face the back to welcome the Sabbath bride.
בואי לשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
You can be seated. We continue with Psalm 92, our psalm for Shabbat, page 22.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר עשתך באמונתך בידיך ארנן. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון.
Tov lechot ladonai, it is very good to give thanks. We move now to our Ma'ariv service, and I invite you to please rise as we move to Hatzi Kaddish, page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון יום יומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהודה ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. Yanai, You may be seated. We are moving into the Shema and its surrounding blessings, and I am mindful that on this Shabbat we read the commandment to have fringes on our talit. And if you've ever attended a more traditional synagogue, often when you recite the words of the Shema, you will recite the reminder about the fringes on the talit. And I invite you, as we move through these blessings, to think about what little reminders keep you connected to God, however you understand that, or to a sense of Judaism, to a sense of religion, to a sense of faith. What keeps you connected? Perhaps it's something around your neck. Perhaps it's a ring. Perhaps it's sitting in these pews. Whatever it is, I invite you to hold on to that as we offer these prayers of the Shema and its blessings. We are on page 31, and we'll read together in the top paragraph. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light.
You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv arabi.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shalchenu uv'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem hayenu ve'orech yameinu, uve'em negei yomam v'layla, ve'ahavata al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha, ve'hayu hadibarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך דרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Top of page 39. Let's join together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We direct our hearts and prayers to the words of the Hashkivenu 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shoreinu lechaim. 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 Baruch atah Adonai haporeh sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haboreh sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
turn to page 44, Vishamru. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time.
I'm actually doing Yismachu. That's okay.
Oh, we're going to do the bottom one.
Yes, for
do you
a
want me? Here,
change.
we'll take that again.
For a change.
Okay, we're going to go to page 44. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm.
Thank you. ישמחו בלכותך, ישמחו בלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, עונג שבת. ישמחו בלכותך, ישמחו בלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, עונג שבת. מקדש שבי שבת כולם ישמעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת ישמחו במלכותך ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג עונג שבת רצית בו וקידשתו שבת חמדה ימים אותו קראת שבת ישמחו במלכותך ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג עונג שבת למעשה בראשית ישמחו במלכותך ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג עונג שבת.
As we move to the tefillah, I invite you to take a moment to think about all the things that we don't pay attention to, that prayer allows us to take some time to pay attention to. Having a 15-month-old son has really awakened me to magical things like the way a top can screw on and screw off. And that, wow, it's like, you know, he's discovered a vaccine. That's how amazing the top. So those moments surround us all the time. And so before we move to tefillah, our kind of penultimate prayer, I offer this to you. Source of all blessings, you bless us every moment with countless hidden things on which our well-being depends. Though we will never know them, from the water veins hidden deep in the earth to the bacteria that helps us digest our food, may we pass on blessings unnoticed for the well-being of all. I invite you to the rise for the words of tefillah, page 46.
Oh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rahel Ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim Ve'Konei Hakol Ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia Morid Hatal Mechakel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua Ve'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai Mechayeh hakol Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalalu hasela Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We are on the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Middle of 57, ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levarecha b'yirah na'avod. Let's read together 59, the top paragraph. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, from the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'el lechodot. We turn our hearts and prayers to that of shalom, that of peace.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, שלום רב על ישראל תשים לעולם וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם
Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a few moments now for silent prayer and reflection. I invite you, if you need a prompt, to use the words on page 62, or just to take a few moments for whatever is in your heart on this Shabbat evening.
You know, we're not supposed to thank people for performing a mitzvah. Right? The reward of the performance of the mitzvah is the performance of the mitzvah. Nevertheless, I want to share my appreciation for those who've chosen to gather for Minyan here in the sanctuary and are able to do so on this particular Friday evening. Rabbi Kane, Cantor Porzakansky, Miriam Daly, and myself have all been holding down the fort, as it were, and hopefully you've been feeling that sense of connection that we have been striving to make throughout the last 14 months. But I do want to say that the presence of people in the sanctuary, as we take baby steps forward, allows, I think we're going to continue to make an effort to connect through the live stream, through the Zoom, but it does provide a level of support and shoring up for your Klei Kodesh, for your clergy, when there are faces and bodies and people and personas present in the sanctuary, especially those that we know and have history with. So I'm not going to thank you for fulfilling the mitzvah, but I will say how much I am grateful for being able to gather in Minyan, both in the sanctuary and, of course, across the live stream. So, how much of what we see is determined by what we expect, by what we fear, by what we hope for? Social science refers to this phenomena as confirmation bias, which is simply a fancy phrase for the human tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms or supports our prior beliefs or values. We see what we expect. I would only add to that definition that confirmation bias is not only built upon confirming our values and beliefs, but also upon our hopes and our fears. In other words, our expectations. Focusing on and reflecting upon whether our expectations are hopeful or fearful is, I think, an essential step in preparing for change, in preparing for the future. No matter when, but especially, for example, in this week's Torah portion. You knew I was going to get there, right? The Eternal spoke to Moses, saying, "Send men to scout out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelite people. Send one person from each of their ancestral tribes, each one a chieftain among them." When Moses sent them to scout the land of Canaan, he said to them, "Go up there into the Negev and on into the hill country and see what kind of country it is. Are the people who dwell in it strong or weak? Few or many? Is the country in which they dwell good or bad? Are the towns they live in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor? Is it wooded or not? And take pains to bring back," it almost says souvenirs, but not quite. "Take pains to bring back some of the fruit, the produce of the land." Now it happened, the Torah says, now it happened to be the season of the first ripe grapes. So the men went up and they scouted out the land of Canaan. They reached the Wadi Eshcol. A wadi is a dry wash. And there they cut down a branch with a gigantic single cluster of grapes that had to be borne on a carrying frame, not by one, but by two of the men, along with pomegranates and figs. To this day, that's the symbol of Israel's ministry of tourism. At the end of 40 days, they returned from their scouting of the land. They went straight to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran, and they made their report to them and to the whole community, and they showed them the fruit of the land. Imagine this giant cluster of grapes. And this is what they reported. "We came to the land you sent us to. It does indeed flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, the people who inhabit the country are powerful. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw giants there. Amalekites, the enemies, dwell in the Negev region. Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites inhabit the hill country, and Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan." Now Caleb hushed the people before Moses and said, "Let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of the land, for we shall surely overcome it." But the others who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack, for they are stronger than us." And thus the scouts spread rumors among the Israelites about the land they had scouted, saying, The country that we traversed and scouted is one that devours its settlers. All the people we saw in it are of great size. We even saw giants there. And we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them. Well, the Torah this week, rather being a case of what you see is what you get, this week's Torah episode offers a different insight. You tend to see what you expect. That is why focus on and reflection upon our expectations, our fears, and our hopes are so important before we look, before we see. Of the 12 tribal leaders, only 2 were hopeful. Only 2 saw a future, Joshua and Caleb. The other 10 could not escape their history as slaves, their fear. But it's not only this week's Torah portion that calls for our focus and reflection, an examination of our innate hopes and fears. For that essential step in preparing ourselves for change for the future is also especially needed right now, in these days and weeks, as we transition from our hopes and our fears over the previous 14 months to our expectations of what shall be over the next 14 months. It is tempting, perhaps for some of us, to try to simply remain in the safe and isolated confines that we erected over this past year. But like it or not, ready or not, desirous or not, we have no choice but to move forward, even as time itself forces us forward, dragged along by its current. We must navigate, each of us, between, on the one hand, a mobilizing dread, and on the other hand, a Pollyanna-ish or laissez-faire approach. All choice, like all leadership, involves the very real likelihood of failure. And unlike the apparent message of our Torah portion, I would argue that in the coming days and weeks and months, even a wrong choice is often better than refusing to choose at all. Shabbat Shalom. As always, I invite your reactions and responses and critiques. Please send me an email. I won't look till after Shabbat, so if you can wait till then, that would be great. And I really do appreciate the feedback and the privilege of offering my thoughts from the Bima.
Michelle always has a phrase if she doesn't know if she wants to go out, and she'll say, well, no, you can't have an adventure if you just do what you always done, that just staying home. So I'm thinking about that from your words.
I'm sure Rafi's giving you lots.
Yeah. He's forcing us to choose all the time. Yeah. We come to this moment in our prayer service where we pray for those in our lives and in our community and our world who are in need of healing, in need of refuah shlema. And on this Shabbat, we are thinking about Michelle Kaminsky, Luke Matheson, Francois Bringer, Richard Lawless, Jeff Lobel, Christine Eastis, Hannah Schendel Bat Devora, Susan Winokur, Odette Muskin, Shirley Applebaum, Sandra Spannon, Peggy Einhorn, Bela Rivka Bat Esther Vishmuel Pesach, Robert Mallon, Chaya Malka Bat Chaya, Gloria Sancho, Jenny St. George, Arthur Rose, Ahsan Farouk, Elia Ben Label Vegita Henya, Chava Gitel Bat Frida, Yona Bat Ephraim Yeheskel V'Miriam, Yona Chaya Bat Miriam, Davida, Ruth Bat Binyamin V'Chava, Steve Brown Inns, Yona Tevya Ben Label Vegita Henya, Renee Fishstone, Moshe Ben Leah, Nancy Lazar, and Delroy Aline. If there are other names of people who you are thinking about on this Shabbat and you want to call them aloud to add to our communal prayers, my hand will come around the room.
Judith Freed, Nina Spire.
David Rhodes.
We hold all those names in our heart, as well as any other name that has come to mind, and we offer the words of Misha Berach. We turn to page 253.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. We turn now to prayers for our community and congregation, page 258. The very bottom paragraph, our prayer for our country. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us to all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Page 259, our prayer for the state of Israel. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. We move now to our concluding prayers. We turn to Aleinu, page 283, and I'll invite everyone to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומורים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
turn our hearts to that of memory, and on this Shabbat, we think especially of the recent passings of Dr. Stephen Wagner, Sylvia Frank, Jules Goldberg, and Eileen Riemann, Melissa Elliott. And I'll just say my apologies for not mentioning the mourners. So Dr. Stephen Wagner is remembered by Margaret Berry, father-in-law to Jeff Berry, grandfather of Hannah and Josh. Sylvia Frank, remembered by Michael Lasky, mother-in-law of Peggy Einhorn and grandmother of Allison and Drew. And Jules Goldberg is remembered by Rabbi David Goldberg. And Eileen Riemann is recalled by Rabbi Lipp and his family, as well as Melissa Elliott is recalled by Rabbi Lipp and his family. We also think especially of those whose yahrzeit it is on this Shabbat. Erwin Spire, remembered by Rabbi Lipp and Deb Spire, as well as their whole entire family. Harry Wilder, remembered by Dahlia Radley Kingsley. Asta Brookman, remembered by Hazel Ferschleiser. Sylvia Lissman, remembered by James Katz. Elliot Perlman, remembered by Andrea Perlman. Joseph Del Ponte, remembered by Karen Gordon. Susan Buckholtz, remembered by Sheila Scharfman and Cheryl Buckholtz. Dorothy Whalen, remembered by Joyce Raskin and Elaine Schultz. Augusta Goetz, remembered by Diane Person. Blanche Horowitz, remembered by Alexandra Parto. Miriam McLeod, remembered by Maureen McLeod. Hilda Davidoff, remembered by Marjorie Goldberg. Charlotte Brodsky, remembered by Steve Rissman. Jacob Emanuel Stempler, remembered by Helen Hockney. Jaskal Freer, remembered by Miriam Bukatinsky. Sarah Kaminsky, remembered by Michelle Kaminsky. Alan T. Wolper, remembered by Marie Wolpert. And Marilyn Itkin Gaynor, remembered by Rita Schwartz. If there are other names of people who you are thinking about on this Shabbat and want to call them aloud so we can hold them in our hearts as well, and if I mispronounced a name and you want to re-say the name, please do so now. Zichrona livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. We sanctify life and their memories through the words of Mourner's Kaddish 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yom echon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevarach Leolam Omei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudasha Brichu. Le'elam mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran bi'alma b'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all of us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Hosei shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
V'yimeru. Amen. You may be seated. It is a pleasure to invite our treasurer, member of our executive committee and board of trustees, Miriam Katz.
Thanks, Molly.
I want to give Mazel Tov to the Lipton family on her coming bat mitzvah tomorrow. We wish you all the best. June 17th, I hope you all have signed up for Sue's Swingin' Soiree. If you haven't, you can still register. We'd love to have you. It will be 8 p.m. on Zoom. Religious school registration is now open. Please register. The Brooklyn Heights Walking Group is meeting on June 8th at 11 a.m. and the 25th at 6 p.m. Please meet outside of this building at 131. The Social Justice Committee is working on a less is more on parole systems with the Religious Action Committee New York of the URJ. And for anybody who wants to learn more about ranked voting, I would remind everybody that our primary day is June 22nd. There are like tons of people running for each position, and we get to experience ranked voting for the first time. As Serge mentioned, Pride Shabbat is next Friday night at 6:30. There is also a farewell Shabbat Nosh in Prospect Park on June 12th at 4 p.m. to wish Rabbi Mali well. And there's a rain date for June 26th, although we're hoping for sun.
It's by the picnic house, right? That's the location for that event to wish Rabbi Mali well as she transitions the great distance to Garfield Temple. We're meeting by just outside the picnic house.
Yeah, there are registrations required, but they're all in the links if you find them on the website. There's a Shabbat with a View on June 25th, which is down on Pier 1 on the lawn, at Bridgeview Lawn on Pier 1. And Rabbi Molly Kane and Michelle Citron will be leading services. There's also yoga and meditation and home visits if anybody is interested. That's by announcements. I'm better with numbers.
I'm going to be leading Havurah tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. on Zoom. I'm going to do the greatest hits over the past decade of all my favorite. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to read the parsha, but we will have some time to reminisce, I hope. So if you're interested in joining, I hope that you do. Our closing song, page 321, Adon Olam.
Adon Olam asher vaylo ay da 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 b'terem kol yetzer nivra ay da 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 lein nasa b'chefso kol ay da 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 yazay l'shemon nikra ay da 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 ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשלו לאחרירה בלי ראשית בלי תחתית ולא העוז והמשרה Adon בטרם כל יציר נברא. איי די 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 והתנסו בחפץ הכל. איי די 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 אז המלך שמו נקרא. איי די 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 די.
Kiddush. Page 4.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי,
Chaim.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו. זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
Anyone over the age of bar bat mitzvah?
No, yeah, we're still awaiting the chain.
We'll join together for Motzi.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. אמן.
Take them all. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes, actually, if you could put the prayer books back on the prayer book shelves, it would be very much appreciated.
It's so warm.
Task for the custodians and the rabbi.
I'll see you on Monday. Nice to see you too. Amazon. I just typed in rainbow disposable masks. Just on Amazon. But you know what? I can bring you one. Do you want one? Or do you, I mean, I have a stack of them.
That's true, you should get a whole stack.
Panther, thank you. Marion, thank you. Sure. Oh, you want a choreography class? No, I understand. Yep.
They bow when God leaves.
Right.
You only bow twice during the Shema Esrei.
Yeah, it's complicated because even the customs that exist are not the only customs out there. And yeah, well, it's actually, you can actually read about many of the customs in the Mishnah Torah. that doesn't worry me either.
fresh start.
It's only because by tradition it's the beginning and the end of Avot, but there are other customs. Trust me.
And I love to learn them, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean, I could learn too, but I know the real basics.
Okay. Remind me in the fall. Remind me in the fall because Erev Shabbos, by the time I'm done with tefillah, my brain is...
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not in any
Yeah, I'll be here at 9:30, and then not earlier, but 9:30, and then we'll get on the library, we'll do it, it'll be great.
Wonderful. Okay. So I sat down the other night to try to do it. And it was number one, my printer was out of paper, so I couldn't print out the printed sheet. But then when I turned on your voice, I didn't hear singing, I just heard tune.
Maybe you clicked on a different link.
No, I clicked on the one that was not the harmony, the second one.
I'll see you in the morning.
I didn't listen to all of them. And it was, I think it was the
Oh.
not the
Yeah,
verse.
yeah, the chorus melody, right?
No, it wasn't the Bamir Vista Shake part, it was the other one.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
That must have
Yes,
been the
because
solo.
that's just the solo, and I didn't put words with that because people had different words.
Okay, understood. So
But,
that
yeah.
just threw me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I couldn't
There's
print out
one that's just the chorus.
Right, but then I couldn't print out the sheet. Now tonight I'll print out the word. So I didn't know the words to forgive us.
some
I didn't
point, well,
even
I
know
did
the
it
chorus. I
with
just
the
know
I did it with the 11th
Bamir
and
Vista
12th
Shake.
graders.
That's what everybody knows.
That's all, that's my parents' generation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was like the end.
Yeah, I explained everything
Sergi,
going
when
on
I
everyone.
tonight, I feel badly. I didn't do, I'm usually not
Sorry.
glad, but usually. I love your hair.
Yes, you're usually very
How much did you cut off? You cut off a lot.
Yes, we were donating it, so we had to cut off a
That's
bit.
nice. Oh, that's so nice. Did your family, well, they approved because it was for,
My daughter did it. She was like, she was so aggressive. I was like, oh.
Run back.
Crunchy sound.
Yeah.
Yes, please send me.
We've got upcoming meetings.
yay. I'm so glad to meet him. He's such a nice fellow. Oh, he's super nice. How new is this?
So I would be
I
happy
must
to have
have my list for my, I don't have any.
in the next 2 weeks. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I on occasion every couple of years offer a print and it's really democracy.
I'm looking at ideas and we can.
Oh, you're not? What are you thinking about?
I love the work. I
And
went
there's a
out
new
on
government
the
being
season. I try to, I'm a bird watcher. I got to Marion in the car.
Really?
I go out every morning, well now we're over season.
Wow.
Almost every day this month I've been out very early and there's a group of birders. I've been birding.
I'm on a Twitter feed of like birds and stuff. So far, they owls this year. I don't know. Birds.
Yeah, I get it because you book them, but she's wonderful.
You know, but everyone has a million and one different questions and it's very hard. People are not all good listeners. And so my experience is, no one wants to actually hear me get up there and lecture about that. We have people who have one position, we have people who have another position. So what I always offer is if you want to talk with me, if you want to find out about what's happening, I will. So we'll have lunch. Let's have lunch. So let's have lunch. I'm very easy to get a hold of. I walk 3 blocks. I go from 131 Remsen Street to